This is a recording for the Conscious Leadership podcast and for the YouTube channel. And we are all in an imposed change management process, basically around the world, to be honest. And I thought I would do a brief presentation on what that really means and what that means for us. So with change, there's lots of findings, lots of research on change and what it means and how it affects us, which is what I thought I'd just put onto this sort of second slide. So regardless of whether change is chosen or imposed, we as the individual that we are go through exactly the same process. Now what I'm going to ask you to think about is that we go through it, our partners go through it, our business colleagues go through it, our children go through it, our parents go through it. Every one of us goes through the same process and every one of us goes through it at our own pace. Which brings me on to the second point here, that all of us will respond differently to the same change, whether it's imposed or chosen, but we will respond differently to it. And why do we respond differently to it? Because we all have different experiences within life, and historically we have different experiences that allow us to be better equipped or less equipped to deal with the same change. Change doesn't benefit everyone. You know, if you're thinking about what's going on now, some people are probably not affected that much by what's going on, apart from the fact they're probably now working from home, which may bring them some alternate benefits of either being on their own or being stuck with their family. I say stuck as a sort of a tentative term, but we're not used to being 24/7 with the people that we either love or live with. So it doesn't benefit everyone. And for some of us, for some of you listening to this, you are in a very different position to the person that you may be sharing the same house with, or the person next door, or the person down the street. So change doesn't benefit everyone. It certainly creates real feelings and real emotions, because change, when it's imposed and we don't particularly like it, will put us into a state of conflict, maybe with ourselves, maybe with others. What we all need to see, and there's been a lot of work done on change within business, but what we all need to see, whether it's in business or personal, is we need to see the benefits, clear benefits, before we move to the new. If we cannot see the benefits of doing the things that we're being asked to do, are we likely to do it? I'll leave that question with you. The answer is probably not. What we need to do is buy into the change. Now, we're in this change, whether we like it or not. It will help us to buy into the change, to get us through whatever the emotions and the feelings that are being brought up. It will help us to buy into it to get us through that quicker. And most of us prefer to stay where and how we are, even when the going gets tough. What we know, even if we complain about it, and I'll do more on change, but what we know, even if we complain about it, becomes very comfortable when we're faced with change. Now, the process of change, there are 5 stages preceded by a stage, and the stage that precedes these 5 is shock. The original work was done by Dr. Kubler-Ross. She did a lot of research and information on the grief process that people go through. Now, any good piece of work, any good piece of research then gets transitioned into management theory, leadership theory, life theory, self-awareness theory. And I don't believe in reinventing the wheel, so why not use what's a really good piece of work? So we initially are in shock. We then go into denial. Now, what does denial mean? It means that we have this feeling of the fact that we don't have to do anything different. Now, when this is a group of people, which you quite often see in a working environment, you know, in business, is that when a group of people work together or group together, The denial comes in the form of not a defensive mechanism, but it comes in the form of the group think they can influence the change, when in reality, when change is in the process, the influencing stage is too late at this point. You influence before the change even starts. So we go through the denial phase. We haven't got to do anything. No, we can still go out. And we saw this with what's going on now. When people were still going out in parks, they were still going down to the beach. That very first weekend, and I'm based in the UK, it's probably the same for you wherever you are in the world listening to this. People carried on doing what they'd always done because they were in denial. They needed to do anything different. Once we come through that, we go into what's called defence. Now, when we're in defence, this is where the emotions really start to kick in. We can get angry, we can get a bit bolshy, for want of another word. We can become, it's the anger, it's the emotional anger of letting go of something, of being forced to do something we don't want. Now, for some of us, we will be very vocal at this point, and for some of you, you're going to be very vocal, and for some of you, you're probably going to go silent. Personally, I have a tendency to go into the very logical, very analytical, very clipped process of defence. I argue my point, I present my point, attempting to influence, when in reality, having learnt this over very many years at this point, it's almost too late to influence. Then we go into discarding. Now, discarding is where we potentially can end up depressed, we get very low, we get very sad, we get very upset. We can speed through this point. I'll tell you a story about this just in a while. We go through to adaptation. This is where we start to learn the new ways, the new things. We test out the new processes, like, working from home, working in a new office, and then we go through into the internalisation. So we take on board those things that are being promoted to us. So over the last 4 weeks in the UK, we've been in lockdown for 4 weeks, we have started to internalise the processes, what we can do, what we can't, and we create a new way of being, a new norm within this whole process. Now, what happens is, and this is work related, but I'm going to show you anyway, performance and self-esteem go on a different scale. So this is the self-esteem scale. So when we're in defence mode, when we're banding together and we're angry, our self-esteem actually goes up. We feel better about ourselves. Our self-esteem is at the lowest when we're in that discarding stage, where we're letting go, acknowledging we've got to do something different. And then self-esteem builds. But if we're in a working environment, so for those of you that have a business, please think about this and remember this. The performance dips actually as our self-esteem goes up. So we're on a slow scale down right the way through the process, and then when we start to adapt to the new ways of being, our performance is at its lowest because we are trying the new ways of being. So for those of you that are working from home, you're not in your normal place. For those of you that are managing those people, please remember this. It's vital that we get this right. Otherwise, we end up upsetting people more than we actually need to, and especially in imposed change when everything has changed. Convincing of the others of the need for change, and this is really interesting. There's a lot of change theory. I'll do more, but this is the 3 stages. I'll put them all up. So dependent on where we arrive, but we're almost never going to get this right, is my way of looking at this. So convincing of the others the need for change. Where do you get them involved? If you can get them involved in the research for the need for change, they're bought in from the very beginning. If we get them involved in the problem, or they may have identified the problem, that's all good. And then we may give them the solution or get them involved in the solution. Now, this is a big question. Where can it all go awry, and why, and what are the issues? And there's loads within this. So if we get them involved at the, or we tell them there's a problem, they may not perceive that that's a problem because it's not a problem to them. If we get them involved at the solution process, so we give them the solution to the problem through the research that we've done, but we haven't involved them or told them there's a problem or got them involved in the research, why on earth are they going to buy into the solution? And then if we get them involved in, or don't get them involved in the research, why on earth would they buy into it? This is why a lot of change initiatives within business fail, because we don't get it right. It is a really, I'm going to say, difficult thing to actually implement well. And the key thing for change and managing change is communication. And we don't do that very well at the best of times, let alone when we're managing change. So again, any questions you've got on this, please, please, please ask me. I'm literally, I am here to help and here to help you resolve some of the issues that you may be experiencing, whether you're in business or for yourself, whether you're a manager in business. I've been doing this for a long time, and I just see what goes on or doesn't, as the case may be. So the vision statement, now this is for us going through the change that we're having imposed on us with, you know, what's going on currently worldwide. The vision statement, but of course this relates to business as well, and for us as our personal individual that we are. Whatever we are doing, we need a vision statement. We need to know why we are being asked to do, or even want to do for ourselves, the thing that we're being asked. So the vision statement has to be understandable by every person affected. Now this will be your children, your homeschooling. Some of you are, those of you who got children are now homeschooling. You have to create the vision for your children as to why you are homeschooling them and they're not going to school. If you've got somebody working from home and they need to understand the vision of the organisation and what that home working means and why they're doing it, and the new boundaries and the new ways of working. What's the vision? It needs to be explained in less than 3 minutes. So why am I saying that? Because too much information in one go becomes very confusing. If you've got a vision statement that's bullet pointed, that's over a page, 2 pages, 3 pages, it is too long. A vision statement needs to be 1 or 2, maybe even 3 sentences that explain why we are doing the thing. The vision statement needs to get a reaction that signifies both understanding and interest. So people need to be interested in the thing and they understand it. Now here's a key. Do not ask whoever you're talking to if they understand the thing, whatever the thing is. Do not ask your children if they understand. Do not ask your partner if they understand, because that puts the onus on them to say, no, I don't, which then can relate back into the self-esteem, because internally they could be thinking, no, I don't understand. How dense am I? How thick am I? I clearly didn't listen properly. It puts the onus on the other person to say, no, I don't, which is a personal thing. If you say something along the lines of, have I explained that well enough? They quite more often than not will happily say, no, you didn't, explain it again. That puts the onus on you as the person communicating the change to expand on what it is they haven't understood. It's distinct from and complements your organisational vision, your strategic plan, and it's in alignment with your values. Now, I say if in alignment with your values, if this is for you personally and you're looking to do something different, if the difference that you're asking for doesn't align with your values, you will find it really hard to do the thing that you want to do. I say thing because I'm trying to be non-specific about what this is really about, because it has so many it has so many prongs to it. It can affect business, it can affect families, it can affect children, partners, it can affect your own personal business if you're self-employed, it can affect you if you are employed, whether you're the chief exec. It cuts across. And of course, for those of you that have businesses, if you can get the values of if you can employ people whose values fit the values of your organisation, you're going to get a better result, pure and simple. And I thought I'd end up on a couple of quotes. So be the change you want to see in the world, Gandhi. It's just true. You know, if you want something to happen, you are the role model. People will follow you. Whatever you do, whatever you say, they will follow your behaviours. They'll follow your behaviours rather than what you say, but they'll follow it, whether that's at work or at home. And if you have the authority position, people will follow. And here's a key thing on this: the authority position doesn't mean it's the person with the title or the age or the seniority. It is the person who leads. So if you need to lead, you've got to step up. If, of course, you're not already. Rebuilding self-esteem. I've added this one in because it's key. You know, things are happening. We're being hammered a little bit. So how do we rebuild self-esteem? Intelligible information. So please do not get hooked up in the gossip. You need fact. Check your sources of where you're getting the information from, whatever the change is. There's a lot of information flying around that's just not true. Intelligible information. Please do not constantly watch the news, because it is only on one thing and it's negative. We all need to keep some positivity. If we hook into the negativity, it will keep us down in that depressed state, and we need to cut across that to get over into acceptance and internalisation. We need empathy and understanding. This is all new. You know, this is, and the word that's being used a lot around everywhere is unprecedented. This has never been, it's not happened before worldwide. So empathy and understanding. People are in very different places with all of this. We need the opportunity to develop the new skills required. Now, I've seen posts about if you don't come out of this lockdown with a new skill and a new this and a new that and a new whatever. We do need new skills. We do need new skills, because what we're coming through and what we end up with may not be what we had before this lockdown. So take the opportunity, whatever that is. If you're a manager, take the opportunity to get on YouTube, get onto, you know, do some open learning. If you're a leader, do the same thing. If you're a member of staff and you want to escalate yourself, or you want to take a new promotion when you get back, start studying stuff now. I say stuff, that's my technical word. Start looking at what you want to do. The vision that you have for yourself doesn't stop because you're in lockdown. If you're in business and maybe your business has taken a bit of a hit because of what's going on, and I know some businesses that have gone down overnight, look at how you, and the word that's being used a lot is pivot. Pivot, P-I-V-O-T. Look at what you can do to think about how your business gets restructured, or the new business that you want to start. You can do it now. You can start learning about it now. There's lots of free stuff. It doesn't have to cost you very much. You know, you can do it for free. You can do it for low cost. You can do it for high cost. Do your due diligence, whatever it is that you want to do. Try out new systems, new processes, new procedures, new way of being and doing. Try these things out while we've got, I'm going to say, the joy of the time that we've been given. You know, we don't get this very often. For those of you that are in business, I am in business. I sort of am wondering what I was doing to keep myself busy. You know, and I'm busy now, but what was I doing? Because it wasn't what I'm doing now. So, you know, think about new ways of being and doing. A fabulous quote from Jim Rohn. If you don't like how things are, change it. You're not a tree. And if we don't change, we don't grow. If we don't grow, we aren't really living. The skills of yesteryear will not suffice for the future. I've been on this planet a few decades, and I know that is for sure. But do not throw everything that you know away. Adjust it, adapt it, tweak it, bring it with you. Bring the bits you like with you, and leave the bits that don't work behind. This is about change. So, you know, change, what it means for you. If you want a conversation with me, message me, grab hold of me. If you want to send me an email to connect@clavem.global. Clavem is spelled C-L-A-V-E-M. So connect@clavem.global. Clavem means the key. free conversation, complimentary to you. If you want to talk to me about anything, please connect with me. Send me an email, message me, wherever you're looking at this presentation. Please let me know. And I wish you all the very best. If you don't grow what you know more, grow more. I've nearly got that right. Know more, grow more. You know, knowledge is power if you put it into action. If it's just knowledge, it just sits. So, you know, do something that can support yourself, your family, your business, whatever it is, through this whole process.